Hello and welcome to the Open Loop podcast, a youth led space for deep, curiosity driven conversations exploring the ideas, technologies, and systems shaping our past, present, and future. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Youth Action Now, the Canada Service Corps, and the Social Planning Council of Ottawa for supporting this project and believing in our vision. To kick off our first episode, we thought we would start by turning the mic on ourselves, sharing who we are, where we're at right now, and why we decided to start this podcast in the first place. This isn't just about our individual journeys, but also opening a space where young people can ask the big why questions about education, work, culture, and the future we're stepping into. Think of this episode as both an introduction to us and a preview of what the Open Loop podcast is all about. So I guess to start it off, we could introduce ourselves. We're three co-hosts for this episode. We'll each be doing our own episodes over time and occasional special episodes with all three of us having little conversations, raw conversations most likely. But yeah, I'll pass it off to Manazi could you introduce yourself, what you're studying, or what you're going to start studying soon, and a fun fact about yourself.
Okay, so hi everyone. I am Manazvi Chirikatsi. I have just graduated from high school and I am going to Western University for their business program. I'm doing BMAS for the first 2 years and then IB Business School for third and fourth year, hopefully. So that's what I'm going into. A fun fact about myself. I guess my favorite color is blue and it's been blue since I was in grade 5. I'm very dedicated to my favorite color. Going into uni for it's been like a hot, 7, 8 years since the same favorite color. So
No, I think we've talked about this before. Your objective reasons why blue is also objectively the best reason, the best color. Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm half convinced, to be honest.
Hi, my name is
Yeah.
Pranchi. I just got well, and I'm about to start my program in health sciences at Ottawa in September. I'm using it as a pre-med hopefully, so we'll just see where that takes us. And a fun fact about myself is I recently got a pet bird that I really like to hang out with. It's a male cockatiel, it's like a parrot. And yeah, we can vibe then.
That's cute. Okay, I'll go next, I guess. My name is Lena. I'm starting a double degree in computer science and mathematics in next week at the University of Eindhoven in the Netherlands. I just graduated high school as well. Yeah, okay. But I think okay. A fun fact about me is that this is my third time trying to start a podcast, hence the mic that's been sitting collecting dust for a couple of years already. 3 years to be exact. But I guess third time's a charm. But yeah, I guess the first little topic we could go into is why we're doing. Or actually, I have a better question. If you could describe this new stage of life in one word, what would
I
it
would
be?
say
I'm thinking of very generic words right now. So
for me, it's quite. I would say it's blank for me right now. I feel like I'm going into this new chapter having absolutely no idea what I'm getting myself into. I have no. When I go into a new year in high school or middle school or something, I can imagine what it's gonna be like walking in and what to expect. It's gonna be harder, easier, whatever. I know nothing going into university right now. I feel so underprepared. Yeah.
I think I have a bit of an idea because from the intro week that I've done last week, I'm thinking something along the lines of messing my plans. I did have expectations of what my life is gonna be like in university or how I'm gonna get through it. But from the intro week, I can tell that's not gonna stick, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
I feel like it's chaotic for me because I was really excited to go to uni. Western was my number one choice. So immediately when I got in, I was like, yeah, of course I'm going here. But recently I've been second guessing it. I've been is it the right choice for me? I just feel like my life could have been looking a tad bit easier if I just lived at home with my parents. Emotionally could have been easier, financially could have been easier. But I've been debating it back and forth. But ultimately, And it's literally too late now. There's nothing I can do. I literally start next week. It's been chaotic. My emotions are everywhere. One day I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And the other day I'm like, I'm going to miss my parents so much. And then the other day I was stressed because I have nothing packed. So it's like everything's
It's
everywhere.
definitely a very big change, I would say. I know especially for like you and Lena, because you're like moving out of the city and like you said, like you're moving away from your family. It's so different the whole power that. And honestly, I feel like frankly, I don't feel as adult as I should at this time.
Yeah.
Everyone's like moving out and everyone's like, you expect to be like emotionally like more independent by now, but I'm still, I don't know how people do it, honestly. Like, really, like,
Fair. To be fair, for me, I'm not too worried about like the technicalities of the path. I know like new things come up and stuff, but I have a default path philosophy. So I know like I can envision career wise where I want to be in 10 years with the data that I have now. And if something changes, it's gonna be because there's new data and therefore a new vision is immediately available for myself. So that's not what I'm worried about. It's like internal developments. I think it's gonna be chaotic, but also busy. I think busy is like a really safe way to describe it. But I think there would be a lot of internal growth. Yeah. But yeah, we can't
Yeah,
turn
a
back
lot
if
of
like Monday
yeah.
school starts.
Yeah. By this time, literally 1 week from now, I will probably be like on Western campus, which is just like crazy to think because I feel like it was so far away. And like, low key, I feel like I've only been sitting with it like recently because I feel like until I had a lot of post exam anxiety, which I only just realized after finishing IB exams. I've never had post exam anxiety. I've never had post test anxiety of any of that sort. But I guess because IB exams were like such a defining, like, I feel like, okay, like you write like an Ontario exam, like you end it. It's okay, at least you're gonna pass the class and stuff, right? It's okay, worst case, it just drops to like a 70 or 80, you call it a day. Or like with IB, even though I was fine, like my grades were literally fine. Like I did so much better than like my predicted grades too. I just had so much post exam anxiety that I didn't let myself even think about uni until I saw my ID results and it was like confirmed. It was death on the ground, and I was like, okay, I can breathe, like it's done, like I can move forward, I can think like high school didn't close until those results came in. And I feel like that also delayed my like mental adaptability to this upcoming chapter because I'm still stuck in high school for a bit.
I can remember the feeling like the week when the results were coming out because I decided to forget about it for a bit. But then like that week, the last couple of days, I think felt like I had a heart attack. That it generally when I saw that I passed, my heart did something like physically. I was under so much strain and so much stress expecting those
Yeah.
results. And oh my God, I saw the A level results came out last week or not that long ago.
Mhm.
I cannot imagine what that's like. I was yeah, I mirror that sentiment, I guess. Just forget about it and hope for the best. But also a bit of anxiety over what if I didn't even make up 24? What if I'm about to lose my uni offer and drop
But
out of New
like
York?
me too, but we like thinking about it now, it's like we were like stupid for thinking that because it's like, of course we were gonna pass. But it's in it genuinely like now that I look back, I'm like, yeah, like why was I even worried about it? Like I would be fine, but it's like in the moment, it was like, yeah, a lot of
I think
anxiety.
for me, there was an instance in my life where there was like a test that I was so confident that I did well in that I didn't do great in. Like I really was way below my expectations in. So it was like there was always that sentiment of most likely everything went fine. But what if there was the one class where like I really thought I had like I did well, but there was just something off in the marking process, or like I just had a bad day, or just really misread a question that could have skewed my mark, or the mark band was too high. So there was also that I most likely did fine, but what if that little what if of
Yeah,
where
no,
something
for
went
sure.
terribly wrong was paralyzing, especially like having done it once where it was like it hit me from out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. It was the subject I was least expected in. So yeah, I think for me it was like, what if that happens again?
Yeah.
So I guess the words we're going with, I'm gonna say becoming. Yeah, and
Oh,
just I'm excited where this goes. I'm not too anxious right now, at least about the path exactly, but I'm excited to see who Lena in 3 years is. Really
Oh my
excited.
God, yeah, right. I actually relate to that. I relate to that so much. I feel like going into uni, I don't have a lot of expectations on other people and how I don't know. Like I feel like there are two ways you can go into uni, right? Like I feel like in media, this is marketed and almost branded as like you're supposed to have the best 4 years of your life, and you're supposed to like, meet your lifelong friends that you like stick by with. And I know a lot of my friends, and like validly for going into uni being like, this is my time to find my social life. This is my prime. Like I'm gonna find like my people. And I've honestly, I love that for them, and I love that's their thing. But like for me, going into uni, I have more expectations on like, who I'm gonna become, and like I have more expectations on myself rather than how I'm gonna interact with like other people, because I feel like there's so much uncertainty. And if you place that added expectations of I'm gonna find my people, I feel like that's just even more pressuring for me. It's like it adds that other layer of like pressure where it's like
Especially
I just
considering that like
control
first
who
year,
I
you're
am.
definitely gonna
Like
probably
easier
end
to
up
deal with.
trying out like a lot of different friend groups or like types of people until you really get that match. There's like that along with all these new classes, it's like a whole nother level of academic pressure. Like you should really, like you said, focus on yourself right now because the friend groups they're probably gonna be changing
Yeah.
for a while at least.
Yeah.
I, I think, yeah, for on the friend aspect, there were a few defining moments for me that like made it so like along the same lines as Manasvi, like I'm very much into the mindset of people come and go and like the whole like reason,
Mhm.
lifetime, season philosophy. Looking back on high school and seeing where I met people that I spent the most time with and how those connections happened, I'm not too worried on that. Like
Yeah.
also there was like this kind of like being in campus and suddenly I think my university had 14,000 students. Being in campus
Wow.
so huge and like the conversations that I had and the people I ran into is I don't think I'm ever going to be in the space where like I can't there's nobody to have a single conversation with.
Mhm.
I think there's enough people for that and enough like societies and campus life activities to not be in that spot. I have somewhat of a uni friend group now already. So it's like I'm not too anxious on that, but I'm also not too attached to the sense of what if I don't need a large
Yeah.
social life. I think that takes away focus, if anything, for my courses and such. Like I'm happy where that goes and I'm confident that like it can't be that bad.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll see.
Something that I was talking to my mom about. My mom was like, "Oh, are you scared? Like, are you gonna make friends?" Like, I feel like my sister and I, we've moved so much in our lives. Like, I moved throughout 3 different countries. I moved 10 different schools. So, like, we've never had like lifelong friends that people have, like the childhood friends that you said, like elementary school and middle school. Like, we've never had that. So, I feel like all my friendships, to an extent, are like not surface level at all. Cause like I love my friend, like you guys, for example. I wouldn't say this is a surface level friendship, but you don't go back to like middle school. You know what I mean? It's not like you've seen me like transform into this person. So I feel like going into uni, that might be why I have like low expectations, just because I'm like not sure how. I don't know. I feel like I'm not sure how I'm gonna deal with making like long term friends.
I'll be honest, I was really screwed growing up by the whole like portrayal of best friends on movies and shows. The whole going over to each other's place every day and hanging out. And the books. I think the Babysitters Club was like really destroying for I was like, am I doing my social life wrong? But then it's realizing at some point that like, looking back, I think I changed like I went through too many phases to even have those kind of long-term friends. Like I just moved too fast. There's a moving countries and moving schools aspect, but there's also like there were some times in my life where I was like super into policy and like community involvement, and then some times where I was like super into tech, and then sometimes watching shows. Like it's just like there was so much. I went through so many phases that it would have been really hard to maintain the same friendships, the same close friendships, especially through
Mhm.
those times. So then it becomes a matter of yeah, it's just finding people that like you share things in common with, that you can have insightful
Yeah.
conversations with, that don't pull you down, but also feel inspiring and stuff. But I'm so grateful I think I found my people in Ottawa, but then now I have to start over. But thankfully, no, I'm still in contact with like my friends back in Ottawa, like a lot on the phone, texting, sending reels to each other. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
I think like ultimately throughout the years, I found myself getting like more and more introverted. Like every time like, guy, you don't understand. Maryville, grade 9, like I walked in on that first day. I sat down and it was pin drop silent. And I was the first person to be like, "So, you guys excited?" You would never catch me saying that now. You would never catch me saying that now. I was so excited. I was so extroverted. I was like ready to get people to talk to me. Like I had no social fear. And as the years go by, like it's funny because you look at my grade 10 first day of like when I moved to CB and it's like the complete opposite. Or I'm like dragging myself to say hi to people. And that's what I'm scared about is I feel like my social battery, or maybe I've protected my peace too much. It's like my social battery has gotten so much more reserved. Where it's like when I was a kid, like I can't just go out like that. This is what I'm scared of because we know Western's reputation. Like their frosh week is not it's not easy. There are events every single day. There's so much to do. And I'm like, Loki, don't know if I can keep up with that. I might be too introverted for Western Loki.
No, okay. I had a similar thing. I think, like when I met Salsabile on first day, I approached her and she was talking to Lily on like first day, and then so I just walked up and I was like, "How are you guys?" or something like that. And apparently, from what they say, is that they each thought I was the other's friend. But I was just walking up and I knew neither of them. So yeah, then we ended up being pretty close for the rest of high school. But for me, the realization was like, why should I be the first one making the first step when everyone, even the introverted people who like sit back, also end up with friends? Like why do I have to rush or feel like why do I have to rush myself into it when I can just take it easy and take it slow? To not
Yeah.
like for me, it was like, what if people make some sort of weird impression of me? I feel like it's easier to not make harsh first impressions of people when they're like quiet at first, because quiet is not a bad first impression in my opinion. But I feel like on campus, like last week, it was generally there were so many people that was like nobody cares. Why should I? Everyone's just living
Yeah.
their life and doing their thing. Like it doesn't matter what people think. Or so now I feel like there's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure that I've been putting on myself has been taken off when I saw campus that huge. It's like you just belong because it's like there's that
Yeah.
many people.
I feel like for me, I have two contradicting, like I'm in a very contradicting scenario where I'm like introverted, but like when I'm talking to people, I like, I get really extroverted. Like my personality, it's not like I'm like this, where it's even if it's 8 a.m. in the morning and like I'm tired, I'm like, it's too early for this. I'm still like here because I love talking to people. Like I do love talking to people. It's just I'm also introverted. So it like clashes that way. So I feel you about like wanting to take it easy and not forcing yourself and managing my social battery almost.
I guess we can. No, I was putting you on the spot. I was like, you're gonna go to Ottawa,
Okay,
so
I'm
we
gonna
already
say
know a
though, like
lot
I
of
feel like Ansel
people
also
there. So I
kind of
was
as
just
an
gonna put you on the
introvert.
spot
Like
about
the only
that.
way I've been able to make friends is through the people that really do put themselves out there and try to make friends. Because I know like growing up too, like most of my closest friends were extroverts who just came up to me and started a conversation out of nowhere. And then I'm like, okay, like I guess we vibe. So like I couldn't have done that unless they were like really energetic people that like go out and try to socialize with other people and stuff. Like a friends and all there. That's what's been going on. And like I said,
Me in grade
in
9.
Ottawa, I'm like really grateful. I already have a couple of friends. Like 80% of my classmates, I know at least like one or two people in, which is good because I feel like it's gonna help merge in a little bit. I'm not saying I don't want to make new friends there, but like in case you don't meet people right away, like you have some other people you're familiar with, which is nice. If I don't feel like socializing a lot first year, I guess. So
Yeah,
I
I
guess
have a
since we have
question for you. Wait one second. I have a question for you. And I have a couple friends that are going to Ottawa, and they're like very adamant on like sticking to their like high school friend group. They're very much, I know people, those are my
we're
people. I like she doesn't one of my
we
close
don't like
friends,
a
she doesn't
lot
even
of
want to go to the orientation week because she's
no, I don't.
so it was like
My
so
friend
that's
is
an
literally me
experience for
right now because
you.
I'm like, I'm not going to any,
Do
I
you
don't
relate to
plan on
that, or
going
is
to
it
any of
like
the one-on-one events or anything. And yeah, I don't know, like, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I really don't plan on making like a lot of friends because I know I already have a friend group, but like I have a close friend who I have a lot of classes with and everything. So if anybody happens to join like us, if we're studying together, as opposed to like me going out of my way to talk to new people, if that makes sense. But yeah, like I'm supposed to know that works out.
I think okay, I was super anxious about like for me the anxiety is like what if every friend group forms on first day and then you're left out? But then I
me
feel like
too.
because we're in IB, The IB is like usually unlike other high schools where like you're going usually from the same geographically close middle school and you already know most people. Like because we've all been put into it first day, we only know people from your school most likely or family friends. And I've seen how like friend groups shifted to throughout like IB. From grade 9 to grade 12, there was so many shifts and so many like new duos and trios that formed in that period that I'm like, it's okay, like things change over the 4 years. But okay, now I wanted to ask Franchi this. So my biggest thing where like when I was outgoing or when I do feel outgoing is like what if I'm bothering introverts? Like what if I'm like invading your space or like
Honestly, I
how
don't
do you
mind at
feel
all.
about that
Like,
when someone just randomly walks
hear me
up to
out.
you
I
and
feel like a
tries to
lot of
start a
introverts
conversation?
are like, it's not like you don't want to talk to anybody, you just don't know like how to start a conversation or whatever. I know Alina, like she invited me to sit with her at her table a couple of times, which I really appreciated because I didn't know anybody in the class and things. I was like, okay, and then like, it's not an invasion of my space or privacy at all. Because I'm at school, I'm gonna talk to people anyway. Yeah, as long as you're not like throwing, I think I didn't talk to you about this. As long as I'm not being thrown into like huge social settings, like in university, as long as I'm not being forced to go to like parties every single day or hang out with you like 24 hours a day, I think it's not that hard to set up boundaries, if that makes sense. But yeah,
I'm genuinely worried about the partying in my campus. It's really wild. It's nothing
Me
like I've
too.
ever expected. It's wilder than I thought. Okay, Western is a
I
party
don't think
school
so.
too,
I don't
right?
think I've heard, yeah.
I don't know about you, Ottawa. Is it
So it's like
actually
less,
doing
honestly. I
that?
don't,
But you're living off campus, so it's like
I would say so, especially living on campus
it's
because
worse
they're
when
like
you're
all
living
new.
on
So I guess they're
campus.
like more, they want
'Cause
more so than they go to parties itself. Whereas the off campus kids, like your friends, so we don't
yeah,
really want to leave the house, I guess.
True. Our uni is like near downtown, and there's this bar street with a bunch of bars, and everyone just goes and like bar hops all night. And we have entire frat
Yeah,
houses with
well,
like
if we're straight out
multiple
of
floors of
yeah.
just party rooms and like bars.
wow.
We'll see how this goes.
Okay. So what do you guys think is your fondest and worst memory of high school that like you can remember? I know my worst memory. I don't know if I know my fondest, but my worst memory was in grade 11. My second function test was like actually like to date the worst test I've ever written in my life. To the point, to my defense, the whole class did bad, but that shouldn't justify why I did bad. The test was literally fine. I remember I was redoing it for my IB exam and it was like pretty like self-explanatory, but my teacher had to pull out the never in my X years of teaching have I seen like a class do this. Like she was like, guys, if you need help, like you need to ask for help because I'm a little worried about what's going on. And I was like, oh my God. That was my worst memory. My best memory was probably like lunches with my friends. Those
Like
are
my worst memory, I know this like one day where I went and talked to my guidance counselor about this was grade 11 about plans for going into university and how it's gonna work out and stuff. Hear me out. I was like not in a good stage at that point. So like my grades weren't on top. I wasn't really on top of things. I was still really confused about what I wanted to pursue as a career. And that like meeting was so like pessimistic in a way. I like went to the bathroom and I fully broke down and cried for an hour over there. I literally skipped the next class too because I could not stop crying for like literally an hour in the bathroom because of how stressed out and worried I was about like, am I even going to get into university? Am I going to get into the programs I want to get into? Or like how it's going to work out? That was definitely like the worst memory because I don't like ever cry at school, but I think that was like the one time I did. Like once. Like I said, we done lunches and also they like fairs also like during
yeah,
grade 12 especially were nice, hang out, chill with your friends. I think we did the most fun stuff during that time because just catch up. It's like a nice break from normal school stuff.
yeah. I feel about crying in the
Yeah.
bathroom stall because that's what I did after I got my function.
The one time my sunglasses were useful is when I need to cry after guidance meeting. I lowered my glasses and I just cried my heart out. No, I wore a mask a while after like the mandate ended. Like I was last 3 people maybe who stopped wearing masks in my classes. But yeah, so that was like mask and glasses were the best combo for crying. And then I just head to the bathroom to clean up. But no, I think my fondest memory have been with people. Like anything that had people, whereas there were just moments where like you feel like this is all I need. I could go if this was my entire the rest of my life, I'd be fine. Especially at some point, Cecile and I were going on walks by the near the Lincoln Field station. We would just go by walks near like the river. That was like I think those were good days. Or after like we we did cooking club. I think in grade 10.
Oh,
Yeah,
fun.
I think that was a nice time when we did. I think we baked cookies that one time. I think I only did it one time too. But I remember that was like a really nice like you I went home and I was like, this was a nice day. My worst memory though, I think it was grade 12 English. It was like
I loved grade 12 English.
no see it was a teacher I wasn't fond of
Oh.
and it was like the class wasn't nice. It felt like really tense for me to sit through the class. I would just go home and cry after those classes. A lot of times,
No.
like full on breakdowns. Sometimes after a class, I was just calling my parents, panicking. I hate this, and I remember begging my guidance to let me switch. I was even gonna involve admin, and I'm so glad high school is over just for because of that one class. And it was like because
That's
I've had
insane.
no, it's also because I've had English like teachers who really like I've seen what English class can feel like and look like. And it's also because like, yeah, I didn't feel comfortable in English class for the whole year. Didn't like it, didn't. But then the exam went fine, and I guess it's over now. And I'm glad I never have to take an English class ever again. I think I'm traumatized.
Yeah, that's so funny because I loved English class. English was my favorite subject throughout the entirety of high school. I loved my English teacher. I know some people hated him because he can be like, he can be stern. He's just a stern teacher. Like, you got to hand things on time. Like, he's not lenient with that. If you ask him in advance and you let him know, like, things are happening, like, I got to get an extension, like, you do that. But like, aside from that, I think he was great. Like, I loved him. I didn't think he was a harsh grader. Like, he was great. I loved his class. I told him that in his card. I was like, you're like one of the best teachers I've ever had, to the point where I'm taking English in university next year. So it's just funny how, like, our experiences for grade 12 English are like the complete opposite, and they led to that. I
No,
feel
see
you.
here, you know, hear me out. My
That's me
issue
for
is
math. Like what you said is me for math, except like my teacher was great. My class was great. I just don't like the subject. So,
no, I think okay for English. The thing is, my teacher was like generally well liked. Most people would have loved to have it for grade 12 or for any grade. The thing is, I'm also the kind of person who usually likes the teacher that everyone hates and hates the teacher that everyone likes. I don't know why I have
oh,
this
okay.
random pattern. Well, I loved my grade 11 teacher, even though like most people weren't a fan. I liked my grade 9 teacher. Most people were indifferent, but I liked her class really nice. Grade
Wait, did
10,
everyone have the same English teacher in grade 9?
no,
Okay,
I
because
don't
I
think.
liked my English teacher too. She was super sweet.
No, I think mine taught only one class, and then she retired or she
Oh,
wasn't around anymore. But her class was nice. I liked it. And the thing is, English is like a rough class because it has so many different types of assignments and so many different books and so many different like it's also in IB it's super loaded politically and ideologically and all that. So if you really don't like the teacher, it becomes like super tense to sit through. And then the bad assignments become even worse. So for me that was like super intense. Whereas every other class I usually like I appreciated the teacher and I liked them. And then the assignments, even if there was like an assignment that was like meh or a bit painful. It was like the class overall was still nice and enjoyable. But grade 12 was a hell for English for me. But yeah, thankfully, I think I had one unbearably bad teacher a
interesting.
year. So it was like nicely balanced. And every other teacher was just whatever.
Honestly, something that I'm really happy about is in my high school experience, I don't think I've ever dealt with a bad teacher. I've had one bad teacher, but it was for like an elective class, so it wasn't like, and at the end of the day, like he still gave good grades and stuff. He just didn't teach, but everyone still got like good grades. He wasn't bad. He wasn't a bad teacher. He was a good guy with good intentions, just he didn't really teach anything in a way that was like engaging, but no one really cared because they got the grades that they needed. Aside from that, like I'm so glad that my guidance counselor, oh my God, She is the reason why I like came out of this program successful. I sent her a card with a letter and everything after graduation too, because I loved her so much. All my teachers too, like when my math teacher, because like after my functions test, like I had to talk with my teacher because I was like, what goes on? And I was like, I thought I cried it out after I came from the bathroom stall. And then I was like, I need to talk to you about my progress in this class. And I just started crying. And she was understanding. She was obviously like, yeah, like you have other tests. Like it's only the second test of the year. Like you got to keep your head up. Like, how are you studying? But she was like, relative. She wasn't like, why are you doing this in class? Can you like get your, yeah. One thing I'm really grateful for is I've never had experience with like horror teachers. And that's
See,
kind of
I
what I'm
have a
scared of.
rule. I have a
Mhm.
rule with teachers. You either are a really fun teacher and you give bad grades, that's fine. You're a really terrible teacher, but you give decent grades. That's also fine. If you're bad at both, it's give me like I I I wouldn't be mad if it was one thing good. Like either I enjoy sitting in your class or I enjoyed looking at the report card of your class. Like seeing having both stack, it's like there's no redeeming quality. Give like nothing to work with. So grade 12 was that for me. Again, it was a teacher what nobody had issues with. It was just a me issue in that situation. Or like there were like a minority of students who had shared that experience. It was far and few in between. But yeah, so it was like a bit rough. But then
I was gonna say, like, I feel like in my experience, like the strictest or like the things that would hate the most,
Experiences look like
I'd actually not hated the most. I don't know. I feel like the strictest teachers, they're like my math teacher this year, everyone was like, oh my God, you're gonna die in that class. But she was actually like so sweet when you got to be like, hear me out. You ask her a question, she's gonna yell at you, but she's gonna take a lot more time to sit there and explain it to you than a different, more chill teacher would, I guess. That's been my experience. And yeah, like the chill teachers, like you hate them because they don't teach. But I feel like a lot of times they do give out easy marks for no reason. So it's imbalance. It's okay.
also shout out to my guidance counselor. I think I've had more breakdowns with him than like any other. No, I think he's seen way too many breakdowns. It was like his office was, but yeah, he was also like pretty supportive. I did find,
yeah.
yeah, I wish there was more support for if you're going outside of Ontario. I think there's like generally
Really?
very little support in those cases. Yeah, if you're not applying in OUAC, like any other like option besides that, and maybe besides the big universities outside of Ontario are not supported. Like I don't, I've had to sit there and explain why I had to do HL math because like it was a requirement, and everyone just stared at me and we were like nobody needs HL math. But I said, yeah, look at the requirements for my university, and yeah, it felt a bit like I wish I didn't have to explain that as many times as I did. Yeah.
No, my guidance
Okay.
counselor, I love that. I hope her pillows are cold at night, both ways. Like I wish the best for her in like every way possible.
Oh, by the way, mine did his best. By the way, I think I was supported by mine, but I know it's like in Maryville, it was such a mixed bag with guidance counselors. So I know a lot of my friends did not feel supported at all at any point. Next, I thought we could talk a bit about like why we're doing this podcast and what inspired the topics for us to start it. Yeah, for context, I think we didn't talk about this a lot beforehand. We just applied for the funding for it, and then it was like we're gonna figure it out once our exams are over. I don't think I knew what I was doing either when I was applying. I just knew I wanted to have cool conversations, but I didn't know what or why or how. Yeah, but I guess if we could all share our hopes or like
Honestly, like from what
what we're
I feel
envisioning
like
for
we're
a
trying to
podcast right
achieve
now.
here, it's more just a lot of, but I know we all have like very different experiences in high school, and since we're gonna have very different experiences in university, it's like obviously a very challenging time for a lot of people, including us. And like I would say being young in general can be very challenging at times. What I'm hoping to bring to this podcast is being able to share like my experience alongside with yours to like other people who might be in a similar situation as us, or to like give a little bit of insight about how things are working out. But I know I mentioned earlier in the podcast about how I feel like going into this next chapter is like a huge blank slate for me where I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. But maybe being able to have conversations with other people who have either been during this journey already or who are really just starting to get into it, I feel like can give a lot of like valuable advice to other people help them maybe figure out their paths a little more as well.
Yeah, I think like sometimes even taking the conversation away from the direct what's coming next immediately and also just looking up ahead to people who've done things how they're living on their own terms or what they are doing with common fields that we're studying or outside of that, it brings hope. And like also for me, it's like a huge part is when I was in Ottawa, I had like events and a social life and I knew my people. And by the end of high school, I had like really nailed what kind of events I wanted to be at, what kind of people I wanted to hang out around, what kind of hangout spots I like. And that takes a while to actually build out. But then now I'm starting over because I'm like new country, new language, new city, everything is new. And I'm like, I'm not sure how long before I can actually genuinely have those conversations. Those like really nice conversations again, because you don't just fall into that right away, apparently, unfortunately. So for me, this is also like a way to intentionally keep having good conversations and keep learning from others because I can't see how I can do that outside of the podcast. It's like my version of like actually insightful 15-minute chats because coffee chats do not do it for me. It's always awkward and it's like I could have just ChatGPT'd this. So I'm hoping to have those insightful conversations intentionally.
Yeah, I think for me, if you guys like hit the mark on like left of it, but I think it was kind of introducing. I think it's about not only is about sharing my experiences, but also I think like what you were talking about, it's like gaining experiences from other people, but in a more like in depth and more like deep conversations rather than surface level coffee chats that we know and the coffee chat idea that we're used to seeing. I feel like this is a good way to like really deep dive with someone that you look up to or that you're interested to learn more about like how their life looks like. But like instead of just surface level stuff, like we can go more deep and ask like more relevant and like interesting questions.
Okay, this is also a bit unrelated to the podcast specifically, but I'm also trying to also build out my like camera skills and editing. It's like a little like fear that I've had of A, editing software, B, be on camera. So also sitting recording myself consistently and posting it even when I'm like cringing at what I'm saying. I think this is also something I'm looking forward to. I can't wait to look back on it like a couple of years later and see like the improvement. But yeah, I think it also goes in line with what I'm trying to do over the next few years of embracing like imperfections and mistakes and the cringe, as cringy as that sounds.
Yeah, I think that going into uni as well, like I feel like going into uni is such like a interesting experience, and I feel like kind of like such a pivotal time of your life because you can rebrand yourself almost. You can introduce yourself like however you want. Like you can take all the mistakes you learn, like all imperfections that have built shaped you for the last couple of years. Like you can take that and you can transform this new person. I feel like going into summer, I was like, I'm gonna like reinvent myself. Like I'm gonna do this, like I'm gonna do that. And then summer went by and I literally did nothing but rot, which is fine. Like I worked so hard in grade 12. Like I deserve the rot. But I also feel like going into uni, like I feel like everyone's going in with the idea that you have to be like put together and you have to be perfect because it's like everyone there gives off that vibe. But I think going into uni with the imperfections and like still trying to figure out yourself is like relating to what you're saying is what I feel.
I'll be honest, I had a weird moment, I think last week, sometime in the intro week. And I think it's like looking at everyone being an idiot because they're drunk and everyone like saying whatever and doing their thing. It seems so meaningless to try to to look put together. Again, I don't know how it is on other campuses. My campus is like all engineering. It's a technical university, so very like male dominated, very engineering. I think everything is engineering, pretty much. So for me, like it seems so meaningless to be chasing the put together look. It's like also I'm
Yeah.
going into a career that's gonna require a lot more studying, so I'm not jumping right off this into a career. So for me, it's like also I'm the kind of person who appreciated or chased that perfection per se. Like I had to ask ChatGPT to convince me that having a scratch on my laptop was okay. That's how attached to like perfection I was.
I feel like tying into like why we started this podcast and like what we're talking about now, I also feel like after I finished IB like over the summer, I had an identity crisis and I never thought I would ever have that, like ever, because I feel like I think throughout IB, I did a pretty good job at managing my extracurriculars. I would say I was pretty involved, and I was saying I thought I was doing everything that I was interested in while being in IB. And as much as all the positions I've taken on, I was very much interested in how I loved. Like when you've been slaving away at schoolwork and that's been taking like 70% of your day every single day for the last 2 or 3 years, who was I before this? And the last version I had of myself was me in grade 9 and like me in grade 8, which is like so far back. And she was in a completely different circumstance. So I feel like a part of even like doing this podcast is like learning myself through other people's experiences and navigating like self identity as well. Cause it's just like you're talking to people and trying to figure out like what I want to do as well as like, trying to rebuild that identity after a pretty mentally crushing experience, which I didn't know I had until like I was out of it. I didn't realize like how like I've literally been floating in the air. Like I've just been like letting the day take me. But yeah, I didn't realize that until you get out. I
I
guess you
feel like
don't
I have
realize
a
it until
very
you're out of
strict,
it and
like,
then you look back and
don't
yeah,
let me
pretty soulless
get
there.
too much in my thoughts because I'm actually going to have an identity crisis or some other sort of mental crisis every time I do. I feel like school is really good at keeping me busy in that sense, where it's like I'm too distracted by assignments and tasks. Or like you said, there's too blocks out of all that to start really thinking about the deep stuff. Oh, who am I as a person, or what do I actually want in life and stuff. There's always like that one night every 2 months where you're just like up a little too late, and then you have a soul breakdown because you start thinking about all those things. But yeah, like I think it's good to be able to maybe stop and reflect a little bit more in between them. Because I feel like I realized I really do need to like pause and just think about like why I'm doing the things I'm doing. Why am I in this program? Why am I like talking to these people so that you don't have those breakdowns later on.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why this podcast is also important because you see why other people are doing what they're doing and like you see their reasons. And if something resonates with you, like that can be added to like your values and your moral compass as to why you do something. So
Yeah, and to
insightful
add on to that,
conversation.
I think there's a bit of a bubble that we build ourselves into. And it's like you're so influenced by what your classmates and your family and what your siblings and your immediate friends do that like sometimes it feels so far and isolated from the rest of what everyone else is doing. So also having those intentional conversations to hear about like
Mhm.
what exists outside of your bubble in other people's bubbles
Yeah,
is like interesting in that sense.
100%.
Bro, the identity crisis. I think I'm still playing it off as a joke because of the whole like IB was my personality and now there's no IB.
Ignore.
No, I did, but now it's like in university you try to bring it up in conversation still. It's like, did you do IB? And then you try to connect again over like the IB experience. But yeah, I think one way I'm trying to go about that is like I discovered weekends exist and I discovered they have a reason to exist. I did not know weekends were not to work. But yeah, what I'm trying to do event essentially is like these what I tried to do over summer, even when I was like working or doing stuff, is like weekends are not for work. I just don't touch
Yeah.
anything productive in that time. So it's like I'm trying to finish up all my studying during the week. I'm trying to use my to do my campus life activities before or after classes, but weekends are for rest, going out, binging a show, something that doesn't have to do with my to-do list.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
literally dropped. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I literally had to drop $600 on a camera because I was like, I didn't have to, but I felt like it was like, I feel like unfortunately I'm like high maintenance and I guess like all my like interests that define me are like looking expensive. I don't know. Cause like, yeah, but I think it's just, I think for you, it's like making a sacrifice of time to find what like makes you. And I guess for me, it's a sacrifice of money to figure out what makes me. So it was just like,
To be honest, I think I struggle to find hobbies and interests outside of, again, taking up more projects or more things that are productive. So I'm gonna turn to sports. I'm gonna try archery this year at school. Yeah, I'm also in the mindset of I have a bunch of resources at university, so I have to make the best of them because I'm not
yeah,
currently on campus. Again, once I leave, and they are resources that I should probably take advantage of. So for me, it's okay. I'm gonna try archery this year, see how it goes. Maybe try other sports. We have gliding clubs where you can get your like gliding
Yeah,
license.
yeah, we
We
talked about
have
that.
we have fencing, and like equipment is provided by the
You
school.
should do fencing. I do fencing. I do fencing. Adrian Agresta. I would cheddar my inner Adrian Agresta.
It's
Hands
too
down.
late into the night, unfortunately. Very unfortunately. We have tennis, we have like sports centers, spinning
That's
classes,
so
pole
cool.
dancing classes,
Ooh.
Pilates, I think, is what someone said, yoga, of course. Like the whole everything you could
The whole
probably
shazam, yeah.
yeah. So that like I'm excited for. Yeah, weekends. I don't want to commit to a hobby either. I don't want to make it serious. So besides the archery for now, I'm gonna lay low, and I love bed routing. I think that should be recognized as an official hobby. And
No,
I'll
for real though.
stand by that. But yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess with the podcast, it is gonna be on weekends. So I guess it is a hobby. But I genuinely enjoy it, and I feel like I don't know about what kind of guests you guys are gonna be starting with, but I'm starting with like friends or people I know that I've had a nice conversation with that I'm trying to also share into podcast format. Yeah, so far it's been really fun to also just sit and record, and the little what is the word called?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
When we screw up a scene. Bloopers?
Right.
No.
Oh, blooper. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. The giggles in between recording and stuff. But yeah.
I guess like after having this conversation, I guess I'm getting more excited for uni because I feel like you can reinvent yourself. Western also has a lot of like facilities. That was one of the reasons why I chose it over like other universities because the campus is so big and I love having a big campus and the buildings are really pretty. So yeah, I guess you got to take advantage of what the tuition is paying. You got to use everything that you can.
My campus is so huge, I'm worried about getting lost. I
Me
like
too.
it's
But I feel like
insane.
mine's smaller than yours.
I don't know how large mine is, but it's like you probably need 20 minutes to walk across campus. Maybe 20.
Okay, yeah, that's like similar to Western campus. I also live like my dorm is like off like I'm living at a dorm. Like it is a campus facilitated dorm, but the dorm is off campus. Like it's not part of main campus. It's like a little away from main campus. So I gotta walk every morning to main campus. It's like a long walk. I think it's also like a 20-minute.
I was about to say, like 15 in the winters is
But like I'm scared for the winter.
yeah.
I don't even make it through. And now it's fine. It's all fun and games in the summer when the weather's nice. And then it starts to hit when it starts like pouring rain. And I'm just like walking with my umbrella flying over my head. And then I'm like, there's like a bus, but it's like same time. But like at least I'm inside the bus. So probably just take that.
I think for us, because there's a housing crisis, people live outside the city. Still, there are people coming from Maastricht, which is about an hour and a half by train. There's people going from we have a data science program that's in collaboration with a university from another city. So you're supposed to commute 4 courses, and then like you're living in one or the other city, or even outside of those, and then you're commuting even more. But we're like next to the train station. Like you just cross the street into campus. So it's chill. Okay, I guess to wrap up, we don't want to make this too long. We're starting a podcast about like life transitions in life and careers and changes and growth and all that. So I guess we could also try to answer some of the questions ourselves. A bit more philosophical this time though. So yeah, excited to hear what you guys have to say on that. Why do you think we chase certain goals, like degrees, jobs, or lifestyle? Or why do you think you're chasing them?
Well, I
Make
mean,
it
to
more
be honest,
personal.
like I guess like when I think about why I chose like wanting to pursue medicine, like I don't really know how to explain this, but I know for me, I've always been like, okay, when I was I think it's told Lean about this, but I had a very tough journey of choosing what I wanted to go into or like spend my life doing because unfortunately I'm not very passionate about anything. Like when you talk about this, I don't have a hobby or like a favorite subject or anything that I really care about. So when it came down to it, I guess I really realized that instead of something I like doing as, I like math or I like coding or something, it was more about wanting to give back to society in some way that I thought would be helpful. I was initially going to do computer science, but it didn't give me that feeling of satisfaction. But I know I've been very grateful for the life I've had growing up. Yes, I've had my up and downs, but I think overall I've had a very comfortable life. I have loving family. I have good friends. I'm like financially comfortable. So like when it came down to wanting to pursue medicine, for me, for example, it was, okay, I've had a fair time growing up. Like, what is one thing I can do to help out or give back to my community? And for some people who might have their own issues or struggles, okay, so it's like medicine is something that I think kind of facilitated that for me, which is why I'm going after it. Yeah.
This is gonna sound like that's it to what Crunchy is saying. Obviously, I want to give back to my community too. Love the people, but I feel like I guess for me, it just comes down to the fact that like it relates to my parents where it's like they worked really hard to give me the life that I have now as well. My parents worked very hard um to send me to school here. They just worked hard to like, give me the opportunities that I have today. Like even the fact that like I'm going to university like 7 hours away, I'm paying like the tuition that I do. They worked hard for me. And I feel like for a lot of the goals that I have, it's mostly just like making them feel proud and like making them feel like, yeah, like the hard work actually resulted in something that was good. But also more so just the fact that I like the feeling of, I feel like success is like a very good feeling to have. Like it's good when you like reach your goals and it's good when you like accomplish them. And I felt that through me because like goal is never my thing. And I don't think it'll ever be my thing. I wasn't naturally smart. Like I was never number one in my class. I was like a pretty average student. And so the fact that I stuck through something that like that didn't naturally come to me was like I felt very proud about myself because I saw like a sense of self growth. So I feel like reaching my goals, reaching my like successes and all that, it's because I feel like I've leveled up, if that makes sense. Like I feel like if you look at Pokemon and they like evolve into like their next version, I feel like it's a continuous growth. But also obviously to make my parents proud because all parents, I feel like all of us have like immigrant parents. They've all worked really hard to give us the life that we have. So just make them feel good about themselves as well.
No, for sure. I think, yeah, that gives a lot to think about. Both of your answers, parents, society. I'm a bit more, I didn't really think about any of that yet. I didn't choose CS because I'm passionate about it, even less for math. But it's the thing I hate the least. Math is mainly to help me become a better computer scientist. So math is more, I don't mind it, but it's also like, it levels me up as a computer scientist. So that's my main motivation on that aspect. With computer science, yeah, my dad is in the field, and I want to go into academia eventually. So I guess I'm still a decade away from graduating university minimum. So excited for that, but also, yeah, for me, it's generally something that I don't mind doing. I don't hate coding. I don't hate research. I don't hate like stuff to do with tech. I complain about it a lot, but it's something that I don't mind doing, and I feel fulfilled when I solve a problem or when I complete a research paper.
Yeah.
Completion is super fulfilling.
Yeah, I
like,
get that.
evening of like
Yeah, yeah.
the milestones, and I feel like research comes with a lot of those. But at the same time, for me, corporate is difficult to grasp because you're maximizing shareholder value. I don't see that as a really. It's just okay, thanks, great, enjoy your money. But for me, like research, there's that sense of you're furthering knowledge, and it's not necessarily directly financially motivated. Sure, there's like different metrics or different goals you're trying to achieve as a university or as an institution and such, but it feels like there's a certain aspect you're genuinely just trying to further knowledge and development of tech, which I find super fulfilling. Things might change though.
Something that I feel like I just think it's funny how like Crunchy's like how there are two different like goals where yours is I want to give it's like almost community growing and like you're trying to grow the community. Whereas for me and Lena, the reason why I said opposite is because we're like thinking about like self-fulfillment almost. Not in like a snarky way. Just more I feel like the word that describes it good is we want to reach our like highest potential almost. I feel like wasted potential is like I hate seeing wasted potential. I feel like it's especially when you have the opportunity. Like you've been saying, I've also been blessed with a super comfortable life. So it's like when you have access to resources and you have the working capabilities to do so, I feel, and you have the potential to do so much. It's obviously like you're taking breaks, like you're keeping your mental health in check, but like just to reach, you're like, it sounds so cringy when I say it out loud. It feels like I'm like one of those like YouTube, like manifesting people, but it feels like you got to use all that you can to reach your highest potential and make the most of your life that you have. And it feels like our goals are the way that we just visualize them and almost quantify that almost. It's like a way that we just like visualize that.
To link it to the greater mission, for me, I think I'm trying to work on the idea of contributing to society. No,
Mhm.
I'm a bit of a pessimist. I don't really care about greater society, perhaps, but I do want to have a positive impact on people around me. No, but I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not as set as on the scalable impact as much as it is. I want to be a positive addition to people around me, and I do want to like
Mhm.
contribute back to my immediate community. Like in the smaller scale in my immediate surroundings, I do want to be a positive influence. But I don't think for now, at least, that greater like community is an everyday thought. There would be causes or like specific things that I'd be passionate about of like in the greater community or like in my advocacy work. It was like youth in democracy or youth in like uh, the civic engagement in Ottawa by youth, voting age. That like it would be specific things,
Mhm.
but I don't really like greater impact and positive impact in society is not really like a recurring thought. But I do, yeah, I guess as a professor, I would hope to be a decent professor. I don't want people to go on podcasts and say I was a mean teacher or a mean professor. I hope to be like I don't have to be their best teacher, but I just want to be like a decent professor that doesn't make anyone's life too hard, hopefully. So yeah, so I guess again, focusing more on smaller scale impact, not being
Mhm.
a jerk. But otherwise, yeah, I don't see. I need to work on the greater mission. I'm so caught, like even now, I'm so caught up on like the next week and tomorrow and today and what I have to do after this and to think about like it. Yeah, I haven't had time to sit down and think about through that. I think the last time was like when I was starting summer. I had a little sit down reset thingy. And then now I'm just like, what I have to do this week, next month to think about like too far. But that's also a relief because I find it's a bit heavy to think about that all the time too.
Yeah. I find that if you're thinking about the future all the time, like I feel like it's good to have goals and it's good to be like the best version of yourself, obviously. But I also feel like I said, like you can't keep chasing and chasing. I feel like a quote that I always see online is you don't realize that you're living the life that you once wished for, like now. So it's as you're reaching your goals, you feel like you do have to give yourself time to just like, soak in the fact that, for example, now, like we're done high school, like we're starting university like next week. Isn't that insane? Like we're living, like for the last 2 months, I looked forward to grade 12 summer for so long. And for the last 2 months, like I was living that. And I feel like I enjoyed it pretty well, but did I like soak it up? Could have done better because I was just like, what do I need to do for university when I go to Western? So it's as much as like looking for the next thing is good, sometimes you also got to soak in what you got in the moment.
There was a turning point for me with that of realizing that you genuinely never stop looking for more. When I got my IB results, hear me out. The night before, I was begging for a 24. I went to bed, I was like, a 24 is all I need. And then I did way better than that. But then the first afternoon that I had my results, I was like super happy. But the day after, I was looking at my results and I was like, if I only had these marks, I'd have reached this like next milestone. So for me, it was like, and then I realized, and then I sat with myself and I was like, what would have happened had I reached that milestone? And I'd have probably, I realized I'd probably have wanted the next milestone, which was like the next like nice mark that I would have wanted. And then I realized that I would have probably sat there until I got like 100% on every test, 100% raw. Because even at a 45, I'd probably sit there and be like, I wish I just had nicer marks so I can, I don't know, feel like I didn't make any mistakes on the test or on the exams. So I think that like looking for more, and as much as it is external work of like work hard, check off your goals and such, sometimes it's also about the internal work of being okay with where you're at, enjoying the process,
Yeah.
enjoying not always feeling like you need to do more. But I guess like you need to feel like you're enough to optimally work for more, in my experience. Or
I feel
maybe
like your goals and successes shouldn't be like what define you. And I think that's something that like I feel like that's why I was having an identity crisis because I was like, okay, one goal achieved. The next goal I have is so far away. It's like when I check that off, like what do I have in between? So I feel like, yeah, you have your like raw identity, right? You have, oh, I'm this, I like this, I like that, I like this. But then you also have like your accessories, which I feel like are your goals and your achievements. And
I
that kind of
definitely agree.
just
I also feel like,
add to who you
and I
are, but
don't
they
mean
don't make
this
who
in a
you are.
negative way. I honestly see it like a positive thing that has helped me a lot. A lot of things like in your future are so much more like out of your control than you realize. I feel like, yes, you should absolutely work hard. You should strive for your goals. You should keep going after your dreams every single day. But you can't like let yourself get too disappointed if they don't work out sometimes. Or like you said, don't get too caught up in thinking about what's gonna happen in the future because you honestly, no matter how hard you work, you still can't predict what's gonna happen. So it's better to just, at least I find it, it's better to try to just appreciate what I have right now because it could get much better, but it could get much worse. I don't know. And I feel like a lot of time, yeah, gotten things that I've wanted like later than I wanted, but it's more like
True.
like when you stop wishing for it and then you get it later. But like things just work out in the end, one way or another. So you can't really, I guess, wait for them to work out. If that makes sense. Really plan for it.
okay, that's a huge one. I feel like to build on that, I guess then you have to stop, like you have to enjoy the process. And if the process is that miserable, sometimes the goal is not worth it. I'm glad, like my parents have been huge on this. If a degree is really miserable and so much work and it's genuinely gonna make your next 4, 5 years like really like sad and like you can't lift your head up from studying and such, or if there's a sport that takes like too much training and then you could get an injury, and like any goal that requires that makes a process, any goal that's so rigorous that it makes a process genuinely miserable and you're not enjoying that rigor, so unless like you really genuinely just enjoy that process of studying or training or whatever it is, it's sometimes not worth the pursuit, because it has to be such that if my life ended today, would I be happy? Like, I think for the most part, recently, it's if is this something that I'm happy working towards, even if I don't get the goal? It's like usually the answer is yes. So like, I look at what I did in a day, or like even if I bed routed all day, it's like, yeah, today was nice. If life ended
Yeah.
today, it would be chill. But yeah, I guess there's so much to it that then, yeah.
Yeah. And not to go in like a dark way on this, but I feel like we all forget that at the end of the day, it's really not that deep. Like we're only here for like I just feel like I think what Prashi said about you being like, oh, it really could be a lot worse. What kind of hit you because it's like so right. Like it really could be a lot worse. And there's so many places that are going through like we're so privileged to be where we are and we're so privileged that we have the choice of like even for me going to like university like 7 hours away, like even being able to move out, like I'm very privileged to have that choice. So I think it's just living life with, like that. But also again, like work like you can still have like hopes and like expectations alongside gratitude. But I feel like they have to coexist. Like you can't just have expectations. You can't just have things that you want. You also I feel like you have to have things that you're grateful for, you're good with. And I feel like at the end of the day, like I feel like I don't know, man. I feel like LinkedIn's like even making me crash out. I feel like I'm finally having a LinkedIn crash out where it's like I feel like we all look you lost the plot a little bit. Like I feel like society has like the people in power have made it so that we're all like fighting for jobs nowadays and we're all like fighting to get into like schools and stuff, which is like obviously important because that's how life works. But it's also like we're here for like only 90 to 100 years and it's you want to make the most of the one life that you have. Like you don't know you're going to get it again and it's like you have to like enjoy it. Like, I don't know, like, I sometimes think it is, like, there are people working so hard, like, so hard to get these jobs and everything, and I'm like, "Wow, is this what we were made for?" To, like, employment. But yeah.
To be honest, okay, so I've been ever since, again, with the like the campus week, there were so many emotions standing and like in the middle of campus and just looking at the buildings. It's, I think, upon reflection, we're also all wired to enjoy the process. Even if we complain about it or feel miserable in it, we would be even more miserable without it. Hear me out. Like the whole like cliche of the rich kid who has everything, who just feels bored because there's nothing to do. Like the part where we're striving for things is also genuinely like enjoyable. But yeah, I've ever since I started my weekend thing, so I have to get everything done before a weekend. So I notice I end up doing the same thing. It's just less dragged because I'm trying to finish everything by Friday evening, everything that I set on Monday for the week. But then I realized when when I truly have my free time, I don't know sometimes what to do with it. The whole shows seem boring if you're not procrastinating anything. So I guess I'm also that's not an entirely positive thing, of course, because yeah, maybe there's a bit of making life too much about doing things or chasing goals. But I think there's an aspect
Yeah.
of it of I'm grateful that I have something that I would miss so much being without. That rest feels boring when I'm off of it. But then again, that boring part, that feeling bored without having work makes me again more excited to start on Monday. And I guess this is my official endorsement to our weekends. Weekends are fun. The way it took me 18 years to discover this is insane though. Yeah. I guess we could move on to our next question. Okay, this is a bit building up on our last few minutes of conversation, but like when do you feel most motivated? And when do you question your path? I guess let's start with the actual physical times, but also the general vibes of those times. I don't know. When do you guys feel most motivated?
Feel the most motivated when I have a deadline coming up because I feel like, okay, here's one thing I've realized. IV puts you, like, lulls you into a false sense of, yeah, I don't procrastinate. Like, I get all things done on time. Like, I feel like people go into IV because they're like, oh, you're going to learn how to get stuff done on time. You're not going to learn how to procrastinate and you're going to be like a good, diligent student. I think, from my personal experience, is that what IB does though is that you just have so much to do that like whenever you're doing something is actually the last possible minute that you could be doing it. Like you have 10 things to do, they're all due next week. So you're thinking like, wow, I'm being so productive. I'm getting this done on time. I'm not procrastinating on this. But it's because you literally had no space to procrastinate. Like when they're giving it to you and when it's due is like such a short period of time that like you got to start now. I feel like I feel most motivated when I have a deadline because I feel like it's easier when I like, and this is why I like school. I don't know if that sounds nerdy, but it's like I like having like structure and I like having it like imposed on me because I don't trust myself enough to like set my own personal deadlines because I will not follow them. So I like having like deadlines put on me, which is why I low-key don't know if I could ever be like a business starter or like a business owner because that's like you're setting the deadlines for yourself and other
It's funny.
people.
It's kind of like
But
the
I look
complete
need someone
opposite
else to
for
do
me.
that
I've
for
noticed
me.
where if
It's
a
like,
small aside of like I have a deadline, it makes me not want to do it more after it's just like me wanting to just fight against it. But yeah, like for deadlines, for example, I know I shouldn't out myself like this, but like in the last couple of years, I noticed myself handing in assignments or projects like 2 hours later than the deadline, like a day later than the deadline. So I know I could have done it before, but it's like something in my brain just doesn't let me follow deadlines for some reasons. I guess it's like the same as, I don't know if you guys have seen those memes online where you're cleaning the house on your own and then your mom comes in and she, oh, can you clean this? Can you like do the dishes for me? And now you don't want to do it anymore. But I'm like,
I guess like, yeah. No, I guess like for you, it's like that self initiative of doing it yourself is what motivates you. And then when someone's telling you to do
there's
something
like
that
that.
like
And then it also
demotivates you,
like
but you'd rather
something
just
else
have the
that like really
initiative to do it
motivates.
yourself.
I wouldn't say it's like toxic competition, but like when I see people around me doing something that also like resonates with what I want to do. Like obviously if I see somebody who's like a top star athlete in like swimming, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go swim like 4 hours a day now because that's not what I want. But if I see like a friend like in the same program as me, for example, in high school with me, and she's putting in like hours studying for the same math exam I have, it makes me go, okay, I should probably be studying too. But I don't want to hold it. Like clearly we need to put an effort into this. Like I guess that's what helps. I guess motivate me. Plus like important to like have
Yeah.
like I don't know, there's like a saying for this, but it was like the people around you make up who you are. I feel like that's also really important when you're like choosing your friends and stuff, because it really is my friends and like my family that like motivate me into wanting to work hard and achieve other things too. But yeah.
I feel like you guys covered most of it. Okay, I will add, I'm gonna steal a bit Franchi's answer. I am very environmentally motivated, not in the like individual events per se, but I think if you normalize like your expectations on yourself are heavily motivated, at least for me, by what everyone's bar for themselves is. So that's why I like appreciated IB and being in those rigorous environments, because like it normalizes the high bar. Whereas I think so I'm keeping up with the high bar because that's what's the normal thing. But I could also just go
Yeah.
at a slower rhythm with like lower expectations, lower bar, because that's what's normal in other class in other environments. Or if it's so my average is set by my environment's average. And like the whole like you're the average of the 5 people I spend most time with, but apply it to classes and everything. But otherwise,
Yeah,
I think times I feel most motivated. Okay, it's gonna sound very cliche, very cringe. New year, new week, new month, birthday, new quarter, the whole bunch. Like the fresh starts. For me, I'm huge on for fresh start. And what I've noticed recently, or what I've noticed, is that usually for most things, I'll give up after a few days and the motivation dies off. But every time I try to start these new things, something will stick. Something out of the 12 things I started or tried to do will stick. Like for, I think last year, yeah, I think 2024 New Year, I tried journaling every day and I did it for months until I decided like it doesn't work anymore because all I was putting on my journal at some point was like today was a good day or today. Like I wasn't really putting my heart into it because like it generally died off and I needed another way to express my emotions. But it did last a while. I think for months I did it. And that started on a whim on New Year Eve. So I think from the fresh starts are a really huge opportunity for me to start like habits. Again, it's not always a new year. Sometimes it's a new month. This time it was like when IB ended and I moved. I skipped grad. And that was like another topic.
that's
But okay. I was emotional on grad day from seeing the stories. Very side note. But I didn't actually, I think I enjoyed it more being away because I genuinely just got to process the emotions of grad without dealing with the logistics of grad. I think I would have been too worried about the makeup and the dress and the pictures and everything if I was on site, but I genuinely took time to tear up, cry, realize it's the actual end of high school. I realized there's a lot of people I'm not going to see anymore. It was emotional, but back to what motivates me. Yeah, and I think the time I question my path most, is before those fresh starts. So the other thing I've realized is that I'm a lot better at setting my goals for those fresh starts if I think about them for a while. So even before I moved, so I was predicting like, yeah, end of May I'm gonna move to a new place, and I had a weekend. I moved on May 28th, and I started being serious. I think either the Monday after I moved or the June 1st, whatever the date was. So for me, like I took that weekend and a couple of weeks before of just thinking what I wanted to do in this new phase and having time to reflect is like a lot more time to be realistic about, oh, this is not me, or this is not realistic, or this is too much. So then what ends up is like I end up with a goals list that's way more realistic and like actually aligning with my goals. But I need time. Also, I get too attached when I set things. If I say I'm gonna work out 3 hours a day on like the first time I set those goals, I'm gonna be so attached to that idea that I need weeks to convince myself out of it that it's not realistic before starting it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna start trying to work out 3 hours a week, 3 hours a day, and burn out, which doesn't. It has happened before actually. But yeah, so I guess TLDR is I'm most motivated on fresh starts and I'm most questioning my path on the days leading up to that fresh start or the moments leading up to that fresh start because that's when I'm setting the motivation. Yeah.
Yeah. I also feel you guys on being in an environment where everyone's productive, whether that be in like a library where everyone's locked in, like the physical environment of where like I am, or whether that be like people environment. I feel like that's why Ivy for me was such a good decision. Cause like I honestly, I really feel you, when you said like when you said like you're like the average of the people that you're with. Like I feel like I'm such like a I feel okay, so I feel like I know earlier in the conversation we were talking about like me being introverted and all that, but I feel like if someone is super extroverted, like I'm with a really extroverted person, I too can match their energy for a really long time because I feel like I feed off of other people's energy. So when I'm like with like relatively introverted people that are like extrovert, introvert, like people like me, I feel like I feed off on that. And I'm also like, I also become like I'm introverted. But if I'm with someone that's super extroverted, I can definitely match that energy as well for a long time. So I feel like that's the same when it comes to like academics or just general goal setting too, where I feel like being an IB was such a good thing for me because all my friends were like so motivated to get stuff done. And I know for some people that can be like really exhausting. And like to an extent, like I feel like we all felt this way where like you get exhausted trying to keep up with people. But I feel like for me, that was really what like pushed me, especially when senioritis started to hit. Oh my God. And it hit. It was the fact that like everyone's working so hard towards their goals. We only have like a couple of months left. Like you just gotta grind it out was what like really got me through. That's why like for me choosing university, like I was really like I wanted to choose like a campus that I really liked because it's like that environment. And I also really like because Western's environment is like really whimsical and it's like really pretty. And I feel like that also motivates me, like being in a cute setting and like feeling put together. But also, I feel like for Western, the reason why I love their IV program so much is because you still have to maintain like conditionals to get in third, fourth year. And yes, like I'm with people that clearly like Western's a party school. So I'm with people that want to have a social life, but also want to succeed academically and not still want to do well, that still have goals. And I feel like hopefully if some of my friends are starting to figure that out in the future, I can figure that out with them. I like that balance.
I'm gonna admit this. I enrolled in my university before checking out campus. I realized it could have been really bad, but I don't even think I looked it up. I heard it had a lot of green spaces compared to the other university that I would have considered. That I've seen their campus, but my two final choices when I was picking, I didn't see either of their campuses. I didn't bother looking. I was generally just so focused on what program I really wanted to really consider
But
that.
honestly, I think that's fine. If that's a priority, like the program quality is priority, then it's okay to have that priority.
True, but it could have ended up bad if it was like an ugly
Yeah,
school.
that's true.
Thankfully, though, I like my campus. The buildings are really nice. I hear the physics building is really extra nice. But yeah, no, the library looks nice. The auditoriums look cute enough. I like it.
Cute enough.
And lots of green space, which I don't know how useful it
That's
would be
good.
in winter, but like the sports facilities are nice.
Yeah.
The people are look like the vibe is good. I'm gonna leave it there. But I guess if we don't have anything to add, we can move on to our next final why when. Okay, final big question. What are we most curious about to figure out in this chapter? I feel like we covered a lot of this already in the conversation, but if we could
Yeah.
elaborate.
I guess like just myself. I'm excited to see who I'm gonna become after these next 4 years. Or like even not even the next 4 years, but just like the next 1 year. Like I'm excited to see like how like the people I'm gonna meet, like how is that gonna influence me, like the courses that I take, the professors. Like I feel like first year at uni is such we're at a very like sensitive spot almost because I feel like you can mesh in so many different ways before you like find what's like true to you. And I'm excited to see the ways that I mesh into it, what makes me as cringy as that sounds. I feel like it's like the
I know
classic
for me,
first year
well, like kind of
experience.
like what you, I'm really excited to see where I go, but then I'm also excited to see like what my life is like in 4 years because like I feel like university is a time of like such big changes, right? And yes, I know I'm probably gonna complete my program, but where am I at that point in my life? I don't even know what universities I want to apply to for like postgrad probably or like what I want to do for that. So I feel like I'm really curious to like hope to find some like clarity about that as well. Obviously see where I grow in terms of making friends, again, keeping those connections with my family and stuff. But mostly I'm just curious to see what I want to do by the end of these like next couple of years with the rest of my life, basically.
Fair. I think I'm leaning to Manazvi's answer as well. I'm not that worried about where I'm going post grad. I think the whole coursework, math, CS, it's okay. It's like continuous. It continues from high school. It's okay. Been done classes, had different teachers, had exams, had tests. That's not that new, to be honest. Maybe the auditorium styles, but then again, IB exams happen in those kind of rooms, so I'm not too concerned with that. However, like the internal growth, I'm mostly concerned about what am I gonna be most worried about? Because the headspace, like the what goes on in my mind as in a given day, what kind of content I'm consuming, how much time I'm spending on social media, what kind of lifestyle habit I've picked up, what kind of also I'm excited to see how I go with like school life stuff because I know I don't have a lot of time with the double degree program and like commutes and stuff. I have like very little room for committing to sports or clubs or student teams and
Yeah.
stuff. So I'm super excited to see which ones end up sticking in that like short, like very small bucket in my life since I'll be so preoccupied with my coursework. But yeah, I guess we'll see. We should do another episode in 3 years of just thinking
Comparisons with
about
like apples
watching this
talking
episode
about.
Oh, we
and
should.
reacting.
100%. We should. We should.
But yeah, no, I think I can't wait. The whole looking back, like thinking back is such a bittersweet moment. And then look back on
Yeah.
grade 9, starting grade 9, first day of grade 9.
Oh my God. Yeah. I remember the first day of grade 9 so clearly. Like, I feel like it's ingrained into my head. Like, the first half, at least. After the first half, I don't remember anything, but like the first half is like so ingrained into my head. I low-key don't remember my first day of grade 12. I like barely remember my first day of grade 11. I remember my first day of grade 10, but that's because I moved schools, but like barely. But grade 9, that's like nice fresh in my head.
I don't think I remember any first days before besides grade 9. But I remember there were phases. There were very notable phases across that time, like what I was doing with my life outside of school in those in each year. It was pretty distinct and it's like, wow, that was a lot. Like in this era I did this and in that era I did that. And then like
For
in grade
sure.
11, real IB started and I was a bit of a academic weapon wannabe for a bit. And then that fell out. I remember the ends of the school years when I was like worn out and like barely there.
Yeah, end of grade 11, grade 9, end of grade 9 to all throughout grade 10. I was low-key like fully burnt out. I don't know. I guess I worked really hard in grade 9. I don't know how. I don't know why. Yeah, that like the one geo teacher I feel like everyone had in grade 9 really made me fight for my life that year. But
I did.
I-
I had him in grade 10, not in grade 9. But grade 10 was my
okay.
burnout year because I went into. I had really crazy New Year resolutions that year. I remember.
I,
It was
no, I was just
insane.
burnt out because I was weak. So
No, mine were like insane. And I think by month 2 or month 3, my body just genuinely could not keep up anymore. And I was like, the exhaustion from that was like hitting over the next couple of months. But also in general, no matter how hard I work, by April I'm out. So I think I skipped the last 2 weeks in grade 9. I probably had really bad attendance in June of the grade 10. We had a math exam though, I think that year. Maybe. Either way, grade 11, the end, I was like also dragging. Oh, I remember we had exams around E time then. That too. So I was like studying through E for chemistry, I remember. And then exams, we had a lot of exams in grade 11. Because, yeah. And then grade 12, I remember for IB, I was barely studying for some classes too. Because I was also just generally burnt out and it is what it is vibe. And then it was over. And the big day, I felt
yay.
so empty after the final math exam in grade 12.
I was so
IB.
happy. I literally, after I finished my math exam, I went out. When I tell you I went out and I touched grass, I went to the Tulip Festival. That's what I did that evening because I was like, I've been in my basement because have my desk in my basement. So I've been in my basement literally for the last 2, 3 weeks, just not even 2, 3 weeks, probably for 4 weeks continuously. That's all I've been doing. I was like, I need to go outside look at some flowers, feel the grass underneath my shoes, or like physically sit down and touch the grass. Like, I was so happy. At that point, the post-exam anxiety did not hit yet. So I was just happy. I was like, I'm glad it's over. And then a week later, I was like, wait a second, it's not over yet. Someone's going to rate what I wrote.
I don't remember what I did after the exam. I think I went out. Actually, yeah, I went out with my mom and Rideau Street. But then after that, there was like an emptiness. Like, what now? Also, I did not study that hard for IB because, again, I was in the group of people that were genuinely so done with the whole thing that it was just like, I'm probably not gonna fail if I don't study that hard. I studied the night before for a bunch of my classes, except physics. Physics I studied hard for. But besides that, yeah. French was stressful. I hated the oral stuff. The listening parts were like, no, not the oral, the listening. I was so. You never know what to expect with listening. So it's always like a bit of a mixed bag.
Our listening test for ESL was actually so easy. It was like, if you open my text booklet, you will find like flowers or like squares drawn at the note section because I was like, this is going so slow, which is so funny because I remember this one time in French class in grade 12 that my teacher was playing the audio for a test and I was legit about to cry because I was like, what is this person saying? I swear they were talking about like metal dolphins and I was like, I don't know what is going on. I literally could not answer a single question on that listening test and I was going to crash out. But I think people were really nice, I guess. Maybe my teacher was just like prepping us for the worst, but like the exam was easier than I think all of our tests were harder. The B1 DELF test was like way harder.
I thought the B2 test was way easier than like IB French.
Yeah, that's because you did long out.
No, I did lengthy for French.
Oh, really?
HL, but it was still like for me the DELF was way easier. I would think that I think for me it's the accents.
That's maybe.
Some accents throw me off when like it's on listening. So the DELF I think was like actual French accents, which is the one I grew up with, or I grew up listening to. So it's like that one I'm used to, and there's no for me it's like those 20 seconds of making sense of what you're hearing because of the accent is what throws me off.
I see.
Okay. Wrap up. Okay, so I guess we've also touched on this in the episode so far. But to just wrap up nicely, can we share a bit of like maybe one thing we're excited to explore on the podcast? Maybe a guest that you really want to have on the podcast, something like that. Also, I'm going to be a bit biased since I already recorded 3 episodes. But yeah.
I don't have a specific guest that I'm excited for. I think I'm excited for everyone that I'll get to interview. But I'm excited to see. I feel like we'll get to a point where we'll have like multiple people coming from the same like field. And I'm excited to see like how their experience varies depending on that. So I guess I'm gonna give like a pretty generic and like boring answer, but it's a truthful one. Where I'm excited to see like the different perspectives and like different ways that people live life. Because I think, like you said, like we're really kind of in our own bubble. Like I know how my life lives and goes, and I know how like other people's lives, like my friends, and how their life goes. But I feel like it's interesting to see like how other people navigate life and like the decisions and like values that they take into consideration.
Yeah, like one
going
person
through
said, like I don't have a
experiences.
specific guest in mind yet. I guess we're also really excited to see people's perspectives. Also, I'm really intrigued to see how people see their lives in a way. Like, I know we did talk about this in the podcast, but like, why are you doing the things you want to do? And how do you view life right now? What's going on with you at this moment? Yeah, something I didn't think about a lot when I have time. So it's going to be fun to see other people's take on it.
Yeah.
I'll go a bit more specific. I think based on what I've already recorded and how I've seen things go. So, for transparency, we do have a list of interview questions we come into the interview with, or the episode with usually. But in all the episodes I've recorded so far, sometimes we will go off script or not a script, off the questions with follow-up questions or tangent conversations. For me, it's like those tangent conversations are like the most precious for me in the episode because like for every other question, because we've already had chatted before, like in the pre-recording, because I already know the questions and I said the questions based on what I already know about the person, So I'm like, I can predict what the answer is going to be, or like what it. I generally, yeah, it's super predictable, or it's not too surprising, or some variation of that. But then when there's a tangent conversations, it's genuinely when like unique ideas will come out, and I love hearing about those ideas necessarily. No, it's also because you genuinely like when I ask follow-up questions, it's also because I genuinely want to know. Sometimes I will even forget I'm recording a podcast and I ask a question because I haven't heard this before. So I really want to hear about it. If I already knew this about you, I'd have said it in the interview questions. But since I don't, I'm gonna ask it now. So those are like the best parts of an episode. But yeah, I guess this is all for today's episode. It's a bit more casual than I think most of our episodes will be. And we chatted that we might try to do one of these casual ones once a month, every other month, something like that. So yeah, I'm super excited to do this with you both. And I can't wait for what's coming. I'll be in better condition that day though. Promise. But yeah, okay. Thank you for everyone listening today, and follow us or subscribe. I don't know what platform you're on, but if you enjoyed this, tune in for more. We'll be releasing weekly on Thursday, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, thank you.